And welcome into Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Of course, it's the day after that incredible 5-1 victory over Lyon in the Champions League. We have our place in the quarterfinals, and in this video we are going to be looking at the game from a tactical perspective, what went down at the Camp Nou yesterday, and in particular what we're going to be doing is breaking the game down into three massive parts. First and foremost, our first half performance where we took a 2-goal lead, looked incredibly comfortable, came out with a great attitude, but then we slipped back. The 15-20 minute spell in the second half where Lyon got a goal back, we were under serious pressure, and then finally the final third of that game, 15 minutes where we took the game completely away from Lyon, and in quite ruthless fashion as well. It's all coming up right here today. Let's do this! And just before we do get into the tactical stuff, it is our 12th quarterfinal in a row. I just wanted to bring you that stat from 2008 right the way now to 2019. We have successfully reached 12 quarterfinals in succession. But of course, the bigger aim here is not the quarterfinals, it's not the semi-finals. We want to go all the way this season. And to make that happen, we've got to make things right. We have to make things absolutely perfect. But if we start here with that first part, that first half, that domination that we had, we really did take control of the game, and I have to say, on the night, I really did feel as though Lyon's tactics played into our hands. And what I mean by that is the fact they went here with this back three. Initially, it was obviously a back five. They got wing backs here. These are not wingers. These are full backs by nature, but they were certainly playing very high up the field. Lyon, you got to give them credit. They were brave, they were bold, but in the end, were they a bit naive? Simply because you look at the wing backs here, you look at the positioning of them, they went to go forward, and when they did that, it left very much so on the counter-attack, nearly here, a 3-on-3 situation. I remember when we played Bayern Munich at home against Pep Guardiola, and he actually tried to do something very similar. He had Boateng, he had players like that from Bayern going head-to-head with MSN, and after 15 minutes, he said, no, this isn't working. He scrapped that, he went to a back four. Lyon here, though, did it for the entire game, and certainly in the end, we made them pay. What happened here with the fullbacks was they were going forward. On the left-hand side, Mendy is a fantastic player, a really good fullback, and for the majority of the game, he kept Sergi Roberto quiet, and he did give Lyon here an outlet down that left-hand side. But the right-hand side here for Lyon, it simply did not work. It did not stop Jordi Alba, and the reason for that was the Lyon attack. They here had Dembele as a striker, they had Depay who was playing off him, but they didn't really here have any fixed wingers. Usually, you look at when we play Real Madrid, they got Lucas Vazquez out here just sitting on Jordi Alba to make sure there's a double cover and a double block to make sure he's not having an impact. Lyon didn't have that though. Alba was simply up against Dubois, and he won that battle time and time again. The problem with Lyon then was, when Alba got into those kind of areas, as he will, time and time again, he was brilliant last night. When he gets here, Denaya's got a decision. Dubois, of course, making his way back, but he's then got to come out and stop him advancing. When he does that, it's a massive gap, and it's a massive problem for Lyon here. They were exposed with that back three. It didn't really work out for them. Their wing-backs didn't have an impact in that first half. In the second half, it did all change around, but certainly here with Jordi Alba, a massive outlet for us. It created all that space, big problems at the heart of the Lyon defence. But I think actually, more than that was this midfield. That was an even bigger problem on the night for Lyon. The fact they tried to pack the wide areas, they didn't really focus on the middle of the field, where we want to get that control. And from the very first minute, Arthur Melo was picking the ball up, he was guaranteeing us control in this game. Fekir at times wasn't dropping in here, he was more advanced. At times they were trying to play with a front three on the break, they were trying to get that away goal, and that left basically Ndombele, who did have a phenomenal game. He is an absolutely fantastic player, no doubt about that. And Toussaint here in the midfield, and it was 2 against Barcelona's 3. That for me is suicide. Arthur Melo here was picking the ball up, and he was just smashing them. He was putting it right between the two, playing those balls in to Suarez here. Messi was coming in deep, and suddenly, as soon as we got through those two there, we were away. And when we were up against these 3 centre-backs. It was carnage at times from Lyon. We cut them apart. We've got the quality to do that. We won the battle in midfield. We were certainly outnumbering them here, and in the wider areas, they didn't really make those numbers count. And in the first half, we didn't allow them to get forward. We had the ball, we had the control, we had the intensity, we were pressing them very high at the field, which we didn't do in the second half. And what that basically meant here in the first half was that Lyon couldn't get out. A few times they had a counter-attack, but they couldn't really use these wings to the effect they wanted to. And I just want to highlight here one of the things yesterday that Luis Suarez was doing so well in the game. Obviously didn't score, but we all saw yesterday fantastic overall play from our leading number 9. And what he was doing was this. He was up against Marcelo mostly, of course the centre there of the 3 centre-backs. And at times he was trying to go round them. Of course, you saw that for the goal. It was brilliant. But also a lot of the time he was dropping in here. He was just dropping into the space between defence and midfield. And what he was doing there was posing a very big question to Leon. Are you going to follow me in here? If Marcelo does that, suddenly he breaks the line, and you know, and a few times it happened, Messi was into that space there, so was Coutinho, and that was one way there we were cutting apart Leon's defence. But also in dropping here at times, he was also saying to Ndombele and Toussaint, are you going to come in and mark me? Are you going to try and shield me here from your defence? And when they did that, Leon then were even lighter in midfield, and that opened up all the space here to come and play in midfield and dominate the game even further. And I think in that first half there, it was a wonderful demonstration of pressing high, making sure there that Leon were really under pressure, that they couldn't get their attacking forces going. Suarez's movement was fantastic. Messi, Coutinho, they were exploiting those spaces. Everything that we set out to do against this Leon side, we made happen in that first half. In the second half, though, it has to be said, and this is the second part here of this kind of game, it was a completely different story. And you can see in the second half why Leon did take the risk and played in this way, because it could have been very easily effective in this game. And what it was a case of was us simply dropping about 10 yards in the field. And if you do that, suddenly you give Leon then the license to go and play. Instead of Alba here really being high at the pitch, instead of pressing and our midfield being nice and high, we actually dropped off. We dropped our pace, we dropped our intensity, and suddenly we are about 10 yards further back. And what you do then, you allow Leon to suddenly bring those fullbacks into play. That's what they wanted to do the entire time. And what they actually did when they brought those fullbacks into play was they actually made then a 4-man midfield. Suddenly, Leon weren't so light. When they had the ball, they were using it. They were playing in Dubois here. They were playing in Mendy. They brought players off the bench like Cornet, Traore trying to get more pace on the counter-attack. But ultimately in that second half, it was Leon who were dominating the game. Dembele here leading the line. Depay was seeing a lot more of the ball, as was Fekir. They were playing there as a 2 really behind Moussa Dembele, and they had the support here from the wing-backs, and it was simply a case of us dropping that intensity. We dropped the intensity, we allowed Leon the ball, we allowed them to come onto us, to enter our half, to feel comfortable on the ball, to play it around, to bring these wider areas into play. They were coming a bit narrow as well, and on the counter-attack, we didn't have somebody like Dembele. I feel like if we'd have had somebody like Dembele, or even Malcolm, sooner in this game, we could have done more, because simply, there was a lot of space in behind. There was so much space that Leon were leaving. They were coming forward, they were taking risks, and we didn't really have somebody here to really scare them. Yes, of course, Messi can get in behind, Suarez can as well, but somebody, of course, like Ousmane Dembele with all that pace, all that desire there to really get in behind and expose that space. He came on, he did exactly that. We risked him in this game, and ultimately, we have paid the price. That is going to be coming up in a video later on today on Ousmane Dembele's recent injury, but he did come on, and it changed the game. But it wasn't only him who changed the game in this one, simply because Arthur Melo went off and Arturo Vidal came on. Now, I was pretty disappointed that Arthur actually went off, simply because he was doing so much in that first half, but obviously he has been recently injured. He wasn't ready to play potentially 90 minutes in this game. Valverde takes him off and he brings on Arturo Vidal. Now, a lot of the time, to win the ball back from Leon, you want to take control of the game. You want to get the ball back, you want to play it on your own terms, you want to have that intensity, you want to get the control back in that way. But what Valverde did in this instance was he actually got control back by bringing on Vidal and literally taking back control. He came on the field there with a genuine purpose of disrupting Leon's rhythm. He came on and immediately he was sprinting around. He was darting in Leon's direction. He was getting in amongst players. He was hacking away. He was kicking them. You know what he can do. He did disrupt the momentum, the flow of Leon's play, and suddenly it wasn't so free-flowing. Suddenly here, he was breaking up things in midfield. He was stopping attacks before they could happen, and suddenly, inch by inch, we were winning the ball back. We were getting more counters here. Leon was leaving more space behind as the game went on. They were committing more and more players, and what we started to do here was just open up these areas. With Dembele on the field, Jordi Alba here was finding that space. You know that he can counter-attack. He was playing it into Messi and Suarez, and a lot of the time, again, it was 3-on-3. When we won the ball back, the game there was there to be won, and with Dembele on the field, with that ability, with that pace, certainly, it was only a matter of time before we extended our lead. And I think that sheer desperation from Lyon, obviously in the second half, shown throughout, simply because they were desperate to get themselves a goal. Of course, they got one, but then as the game went on, we were starting to pick them off. And you can see that here with Gerard Piqué's goal. I just want to highlight this one, because I think it's an absolutely wonderful counter-attack. It's brilliant play from either of them. It's not hit and hope. There's very, very good plays about this. You watch it here. It comes out from the back. Jordi Alba receives it, and then it's that pass. He moves it on very, very quickly. It's not a smash. He tries to pick Messi out here. He knows that Messi is the man who can lead these kind of counter-attacks. He plays it onto him here. And just look at some of the players who are advancing. Sergio Busquets made an absolutely fantastic run down the middle. You know that he's not the quickest. He's not even close to being the quickest, but he's still really busting a gut there to get down the middle, offer himself. Suarez out done the right, plays a massively key role. Dembele gets forward. Gerard Piqué, of course, started there on the edge of his own box. He's sprinting now to get on the end of this one. And I want to talk about Messi here because it's so calm, it's so calculated. We saw that for the penalty, and we see it again here. Because all he does, he waits and waits and waits, and he even waits to the point here where Ndombele here can get back in, can get the right side of him and try and get a tackle in. They're closing him down. Any other player here would be panicking, thinking, I've got to play this ball, I've got to try and pick somebody out, I've got to do it now. But Messi waits and waits and waits. You've got Suarez there who's dragging the defender, always giving Messi an option to the right. You've got Busquets down the middle who makes a key run as well. Dembele is arriving on the scene, but it's Piqué here, just on the periphery of things. Messi can see that, of course. He's got incredible vision. He can see Piqué arriving. He just bides his time until bang. Piqué there making the run in behind. Messi's pass is absolutely perfect. It's brilliantly timed onto Gerard Piqué, and it's a wonderful finish into the back of the net. Barcelona there breaking at speed, breaking with real quality, and that is what we saw in that second half. Cutting edge ruthlessness in front of goal. And so that was basically there, guys, how I saw the Lyon game yesterday. I think obviously in most of the game there, really good quality, good intensity, good attitude, fantastic in front of goal. Like I spoke about in the review, really good there to see our attack in play that successful. But obviously that drop off in the second half is something we have to avoid in the later rounds, because as soon as you do that, as soon as you lose your intensity, you start dropping in the field, you start inviting the opposition onto you. And we're not a team who's set up to defend. We're not a team who likes to do that. We're not a team who base our players around defensive qualities. We like to attack. We like to really dominate the game, have the control. We don't like to invite opponents onto us. We did that in the second half. It wasn't costly though. Dembele though is bad news. He has received another injury, and I'm going to bring you all the latest on that later on today in another video. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I'm sure that you enjoyed this win. All we have to do now is wait until the draw tomorrow to find out who we'll face. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will see you soon. But until then, as always, Visca El Barça!